Well, good evening, Year 11, and welcome to your live lesson. This is focusing on Paper 1, Question 5, and we've stated that it's for Target 5 and above. And I just want you to consider what your mock exam results were as well. So if you're a target of a 5, but you're only getting a 4 in your mock exams, or a 3, then it might be better for you to try the 4 at the target 4 and below another time. And stay on this one now, and just do your best. But they're obviously set at different times, so different levels, so that you can access them. So what we really want is, we want you, if you can't, some of you can't access the after school revision because you've got problems with your with lift shares, and there isn't a bus for you. So what we want you to do is to just have this opportunity, so you can be at home and you can relax a little bit more, have your own environment. And also, this is a place where you don't have to put your hand up in front of the class, so you don't have to worry that anyone is going to hear anything that you say, because whatever you type in the chat box, unless I make it public, unless I publish it and make it public, then it is actually it will be just a private message to me. On that note, so you might want to just type in something now to let me know that you can hear, that you are interacting. But equally, if I can just reiterate that there is probably about a 50-second delay between your typing and my being able to access the messages. But I want you to know that if I don't get to read them this evening, let's say we get lots and lots of messages, and I can't read them all, then I absolutely will read them tomorrow or later on tonight. I can access those messages. But equally, I really do want you to all have a go, and I want you to interact when I ask for you to. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a set out, like just let you know what it is that you're going to be looking at. Just need to change the PowerPoint. Ooh. So we're doing paper 1 section 5 today. Then on the 15th of March we're going to look at paper 2 section, so 15th of March we're looking at paper 2 section B. Okay, so we've got paper 1 section B today. The 29th of March we're going to look at paper 1 section A, and then we stop and we've got the Easter, the break. Now I just wanted to think about and ask you whether you wanted me to do lives over the Easter time. And if you do, that's fine, but you do need to really sort of just try and come and talk to me and communicate and let me know what it is that you want to do, because as you can see on here, we've got all of the language papers, and then we're just going to cover power and conflict. But if there's something else you'd like to cover, then please let me know. You can email me, you can talk to me at school, you can do just type in the chat box now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, it's easier for me to keep the screen where we've got one big screen and then all the thumb bits on the other side. So that's how I'm going to present the PowerPoint slide today. And so what we're going to do, as you know, is we are thinking about paper 1 question 5, and you've got 2 options here. You're always given 2 options. One is that you are going to do description only, but even when you're doing description only, I want you to be able to sort of add an event or two, add a different perspective, but we'll talk about that. And then also you might want to do the story. So that will be like just taking on, as you know, you'll have then a first person narrator and you'll take on a different perspective. But the way I like to look at it is, if you're if you think, for example, if you're just doing a description, you're sitting in the trenches. So you're going to sit in the trenches, you're describing what's around you, but then your perspective will change, because you then might start thinking about home, you know, but then if you've got the narrative, I'd want you up, we'd want events, we'd want you running over the side, like running over the front line, not side. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. So what we're going to start off with is I will, okay, so somebody said they want the sign of 4, that's great. So I'm going to read a section of Steinbeck's text for you, and I want you to think about what it is that the reader wants you to see. So, you know, how does he want this setting across in his reader's mind? So I'll read it through for you, and then in a minute, like I've finished, or while I'm actually reading it, if you could just do a quick sketch so that you're sketching what it is that we're writing here. So yeah, I've got 3 comments now. Thank you very much, and good evening to you too. A few miles south of Soledad, the Salinas River drops in close to the hillside bank and runs deep and green. The water is warm too, for it has slipped twinkling over the yellow sands in the sunlight before reaching the narrow pool. On one side of the river, the golden foothill slopes curve up to the strong and rocky Gavilan Mountains, and on the valley side, the water is lined with trees, willows fresh and green with every spring, carrying in their lower leaf junctures the debris of winter's flooding, and sycamores with mottled white recumbent limbs and branches that arch over the pool. On the sandy bank under the trees, the leaves lie deep and so crisp that a lizard makes a great skittering if he runs among them. So what I would like you to do is to just draw that, just sketch that out. So I will give you a minute. Obviously, we've got that time delay, but that's not really going to affect us too much until we start. I ask you to put some bits in the chat box soon. Okay, so make a little drawing. So this is, obviously I appreciate the artists in the room, that I've definitely got a few students who'll be getting involved in the art here, so I'm sorry to have to drag you back, but this is what Steinbeck was creating. So do you think he was successful? Do you think that your picture looked like that, or what you had in your mind? So that's, you know, just a way in, but really what we want to think about is, you know, well, why is this so effective? Why is this a great piece of literature? So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you one idea, and then I want you to put some of your ideas into the chat box, please. So obviously there will be that delay, but so the one thing that I think about is the juxtaposition between the different sides of the river. So we've got here, you know, we've got a river here, and then we've got these strong Gavilan Mountains, which are strong and rocky. So they're really good adjectives there. Let's have a look at these. So we've got strong and rocky Gavilan Mountains. So that's one side, but then if you look at there's a juxtaposition on the other side, because on the valley side the water is lined with trees, willows fresh and green with every spring. So but it does go on to say that carrying in their lower leaf junctures the debris of winter's flooding. So it gives you that impression that there's something underneath it, something trapped. So I'm going to look at that as a juxtaposition between the two. So you've got one here, the strong and rocky Gavilan Mountains, which you will see, you know, that sort of gives you a sense of freedom. You've got people just walking over the mountains. There's just, you know, that feeling of freedom when you're walking. And then when you've got it's lined with trees, the other side, that's not, you know, the really entrapment, but when you think about that it's carrying in the water, so underneath that beautiful water that's slipping twinkling, you've got winter being like kept entrapped in there. So you've got the juxtaposition of this. So obviously we're thinking about what makes effective creative writing. So this is really good for your reading, but also, you know, want you thinking about your reading. So we've got here, I'm starting to get some comments in, which is lovely. Thank you very much. So we've got sands in the sunlight. The sands in the sunlight. And what's really interesting here is that you are talking about the fact that it's a soft, sibilant sound. So sands in the sunlight, it does give quite soft, but if you think about a soft sibilant sound, I would say wash, brush, that's softer, whereas this sands in the sunlight, to me, it's slightly a harsher sound, and that could also be hinting, that could sort of support here. So I'm going to put this in the green because that could be hinting at that sense of entrapment, that like something isn't quite right. So if I could just have a few more of your ideas from the on the chat box, that would be lovely, because there's plenty of you in here now. I know that, oh, I'll just give you a minute because obviously we have to wait. Right, so whilst I'm waiting for some more of your ideas, obviously I have got one prepared earlier that I looked at. So this talks about, so I've got the juxtaposition in different colours here, but we've got like twinkling over, so it's slipped twinkling, that beautiful sense of something shining and bright, and you know, like when the sunlight just captures the water. And you've got there on one side of the river the golden foothill slopes, so you've got some good some nice adjectives there. Right, I've just had another really lovely piece of literature on the chat box. The river is infested. It's meant to be pure and blue, but it's deep and green, which is infested. Okay, oh, I just love how you guys are all so scientific. Okay, so I'm going to publish that one, if that's okay. So I love that idea. You've all been doing your biology tests, so that's a really good idea. So where is it? So it's fresh and green. I'll just sort of highlight that bit so you can see there. Okay, we've got enough people in attendance, so hopefully we'll get a few more of you making some comments soon. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you last year's picture, and we're going to think about how some of my students planned and like how they would approach that picture. So obviously we've got this picture here. Apologies, it's in black and white. I'm sure you had this, you did have this for your mock previously, so you'll all be familiar with this. I'm sure that some of you will be moaning about that one. But here, you know, I want you to think about how you're going to approach the picture, and we will be talking a bit more in a bit more detail about how you actually, like what you're going to look at. But firstly, whenever we get our students' work back, I always like to, as far as I can, try and get as many papers in as I can so I can have a look and see how, like, what they did. So I've got one student here, and as you can see, his approach is the approach where you look at the picture and you choose 4 things, and you're going to go into a lot of detail about those 4 things. So just to say, one of my students got a overall was awarded a 9, and the other one was awarded a 7. So let's have a look at his plan here. So the plan, he's looking at, so in paragraph 1, the pathway, circular house, straw hut, door. Paragraph 2, he's going to focus on colours, table, chairs, table pieces, teapots. Paragraph 3 decides not to worry about that one. So then he changes it to the counter, on the shelves, array of cups. And then he's going to look at the window, then the counter, and something again. So develop into a letter with instructions. So here he's going to like describe the picture, but he appreciates that you've got to have something else. So here he's going to develop onto a letter, but it could be that you're sitting in the room and then you're sort of standing at the door looking out. So let's just have a look at his first paragraph, or some of the writing here. So he says, the smell of freshly pruned grass lines the rigid sand pathway, its parallel tram lines neatly fringed by borders of expanses of grass. Gnomes on mushrooms and gnomes on wheelbarrows guarded the flower beds beneath the window sills on either side of the rigid sand pathway. The crunching of my boots beneath me, therapeutic to myself, yet a warning to the gnomes. So you can see here that the examiner straight away, so his aim is to write descriptively, and the examiner says clear effect for vocabulary, a level 3. Now a level 4 is your 8 and 9. That's your, this is the highest, is the level 4. So for him to be awarding a level 3 is great, sort of from the off, but for a level 4, it's got to be convincing and compelling. So he's really worked on his vocabulary choices there, and he's chose sort of to go heavily on the description. So I want to look at another student, and the other student, now this is my writing here. So I just put the, so I'm just gonna, he didn't write that on his plan at all. So it's emotive language. So his plan is far simpler. He's got emotive language, regard the surroundings first, move from senses to feeling of panic. Now, here he's going straight in with a first person narrator. In the opening, he only gets a level 2 for his vocabulary because he starts with, my heart sank as I was submerged underwater. My surroundings, a deepened, unnerving shade of blue, an endless loop emphasising my fear of the unknown. The cold, lively water crushing against my weak, feeble body, banishing me to the depths of hell. There was nothing left for me to do, a tormented soul in the heart of a barren, toxic wasteland. I mean, I would say, come on. But level 3 is still really good, so we'll let him have that. But actually, no, sorry, he only gets a level 2 for vocabulary in the opening, and I don't know why. Well, it's probably because he's using quite a lot of monosyllabic, and the my's is a lot of emphasis on the first person. So here, though, he's definitely going into level 3 for his sentence structures. My first instinct was to grab on to something nearby, but wave after wave, each more punishing than the last, I was left to struggle in silence. So he's got a lot more, so his sentence structures are definitely securer. They say here that so scared, isolated and desperate were just the start of the long list of emotions I was feeling, a roller coaster of pain and anguish before an underwhelming feeling of acceptance towards my tragic ending concluded my story. So here he's getting a level 3 for its match to purpose. But when we come to this final paragraph, but I've typed this up because the handwriting wasn't as good. So the final paragraph for his sentence structures, they're now going into level 4. So I was a short man, late 60s, with distinct features that allowed me to stick out from the rest. My face now old and haggard, accompanying my dusted beard. Scars filled my face, each with their own depiction of highlighting life, a story waiting to be told in the archives of my mind. With no children, no wife or other family, I had lived a quiet life filled with many experiences. So he gets straight in, they go level 4 for his sentences. But for structure and like the way his vocabulary and matching his audience, it's all been sort of level 3 at the moment. And then here you can see he just includes this one line sentence paragraph, a one sentence paragraph, and every single thing on this page turns to level 4. They're just going level 4, level 4, level 4, level 4. So whereas this, he's got 2s, 3s and 4s, and it's great, but you've got to think about how you structure your own writing. Let me just have a look at this question. I've got a question. So it's well, they say, the exam board said that this, from this point here, is well structured. He is using ambitious vocabulary overall. I think they've now picked that up. And he actually got the higher marks of the 2. But as soon as they saw these sentences here, they just loved it. They were like, great, well crafted, controlled, and they were just, you know, a few of the comments that they made about his work. So I just wanted you thinking about that. I want you going in, as well as thinking about the picture and what you've got to describe, you must consider how you're going to write it in. It's like if you have a plan in your mind, and we'll go over our success criteria, what you need shortly, but if you know, it's better to have a plan in your mind so that you will think, okay, I'm going to have an opening paragraph and then I'm going to have a one sentence paragraph, and also, you know, there's lots of different ways, lots of other little tricks and tips that you can have in your pencil case ready to sort of go along, like starting with one word. So we've looked at a piece a while ago in class, and it was writing about snow, and you just had snow, one word, fragmented sentence at the beginning, snow, and then you wrote your paragraph, then you had a one sentence paragraph, and then maybe the second or the third paragraph you just start with snow again, just to sort of show that you are consciously crafting your work. So just to quickly remind you of the assessment objectives here. So AO5 is out of 24 and AO6 is out of 16. So here, this is where your 24 marks are. You're communicating clearly, effectively and imaginatively, selecting and adapting tone, style and register for different forms, purposes and audiences. Organise information and ideas using structural and grammatical features to support coherence and cohesion of text. So you need to show that you are really well crafted, and you get the opportunity to show how you can write transactional pieces and non-transactional pieces. You'll be writing a story and description, and you'll be writing a letter or an article for a magazine, a speech for a leavers assembly or something. So across the board, you get to show a whole range of your writing styles. So we want to think about what our success criteria is. So when you're looking at your own picture, you want to have your own idea of, like, before you go in, you're going to think, like, this is how I'm going to approach this. So are you going to zoom out on the whole picture and sort of talk about it as a whole, and then zoom back in and focus on something within the picture, and then change perspectives from inside out or from outside in, then go back to the whole picture, so you've got a circular plot? So is that how you're going to approach it? Are you going to list 5 aspects of the image and use a huge range of devices to engage your examiner and impress them with how much you know? Are you going to, some teachers will say, divide the picture into 4 and talk about this quarter, this quarter, this quarter? It's got to be what you think works for you, how you're going to get on with this. So here I've got a device checklist. Okay, so we've got analysis, prolipsis, punctuation, like a range of punctuation, good complex sentences, hyphen, juxtaposition. So these are like the devices. These are what I'd say non-negotiables, really. You've got to use metaphor, simile, personification, oxymoron, double entendre. So, you know, something that's got double meaning, complex sentences, hyphen, juxtaposition, analysis, prolipsis, thinking forward. We're looking at a piece at the moment in class, or we have been, where Alice is digging, and then it just flashes forward and it says like, in 2 weeks' time, Alice would have wished that she did something different. So then the reader knows something, like the reader doesn't know something that the narrator knows. So it creates that curiosity. So I want you really thinking about how you're going to craft your language. So now is a little bit more, I want some of your interaction, please. So when we're thinking about what we've just talked about, so particularly like with some of the structure, what else would you have as your non-negotiable things that we want in here? So I'm going to write some of your ideas. Obviously now we've got that pause because I have to wait for your comments to come onto the screen. Personification, absolutely. We definitely want personification. Triplets, oh, lovely. Let's get our list of 3 in there. So we want triplets, just sounded funny then, thinking triplets. Yeah, so we want a tricolon. Great, we've got personification, tricolon. What about something that we were just talking about with regards to sentence structures? So we know that we want long, complex sentences, but you know, what type of paragraphing would we like as well, or would the examiner like to see? Remember, nobody knows what you're saying. Like, it's not like you're saying it in front of everyone. I'm not going to publish anything if you don't want it published. Hyperbole, thank you. Q Anonymous. We're definitely going to have more hyperbole in our paper 2, section B, because that's the persuasive writing. But what about what we were just talking about with the fragmented sentences? So we want, so that is so fragmented sentences such as one word, small phrase, just non-sentences, like so might be London, full stop, snow, full stop. What else do we want? Short dramatic sentences. Think of anything else? Let's have a look. Have we got any ideas here? Okay, so I just want to show you some of the past papers. Let's have a look at what we've got for some past papers. So here, I think you've all seen this one as well. You did this as a mock in year 10, the marketplace. And then we've got the young child with the magical snow globe. We have this mysterious gate. So you've got to write a description of a mysterious place suggested by this picture. We've got describe a place at sunset as suggested by this picture. So it's lending itself more here that you're just using the picture as stimulus, but you go outside of it. You can go from like multi perspectives from this. So here as well, when we're thinking about structure, you've got a child looking into this magic snow globe. And so at the beginning, you've got the snow globe, the child looking through, and then you could have the adventure, and then it comes back to the child looking back at the snow globe. So we've got that sense of the circular plot. Just going to check for any more messages. No. Right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you quite a complex image, and this is unlikely to come up in the exam. But, you know, this is sort of more for you to challenge yourself here. So it's like if you're in the gym and you're like lifting 24s every day, 24s, and then when it comes to, you know, I don't know, when one day you just pick up a set of 18 dumbbells or something, and then it's really quite easy. Not that I think 18s are easy, but, you know, in comparison. So when we're setting ourselves this target, we want to be working at something quite complex so that when you get into the exam, it's like, whew, that's fine. You know, you're quite happy with that. So what type of ideas do we have? How can we effectively, so I want you to think, how can I effectively describe an image in detail? So how are you going to describe this image? Let's have a think about it. So remember that, you know, you'll be, what are you going to do? You're going to go for 4 different aspects of the picture and think of 4 different things. So you're going to look at the river, the trees, so you've got that juxtaposition of the trees there. You're going to look at the buildings, the windows, but you've got to think about the perspective. You want to be changing perspective as well. So if you're writing about this and you're writing about the window, and then suddenly it could be somebody inside the window looking out, or like then it goes through the window and you're inside the building and you've got something else going on, so that there is some action, there's a shift in perspective. So let's just have a think about, so, you know, we need to develop our ideas. So if I can, I think I'm just rushing on here because I'm waiting for you really. If you could give me some, if you could use the chat box and give me some ideas, some of your ideas of what you might want to put into this, like how you would describe this picture. So it could be nouns, similes. In fact, I'll just pop this up here now. So it could be nouns, similes, metaphors, personification, or just start off with some really simple, some nouns, some descriptive adjectives, anything you want. Just pop it into the chat box and then we can try and collate some of our ideas. I've just had some more ideas for our success criteria. So first person, oh, actually, I do think that that's quite important that I put that in. So I'm going to just publish that. So that's something that I think you should read. So start outside of the lake, gradually get closer and go through the town until you get to the big castle. Hyperbole, exaggerate the size. That's lovely. I hope you don't mind that I am publishing your work here. Different sentence type, yep. So these have all sort of, I didn't notice these coming through at the time. So starting outside on the lake and gradually getting closer, going through the town until you get to the big castle. What I'm going to do is just copy that and put that onto our, going to put it somewhere on here. Where am I going to put that? Maybe because it's starting outside, oh, it won't copy across. Okay, well, that's good to know. See, I'll just try again. Oh yeah, so start outside on the lake, gradually getting closer to go through the town until you get to the big castle. Yeah, that's lovely. So that is sort of a bit of both really, but as you can appreciate, I need to just put it somewhere. What else have I got here? Just want to get some of your ideas. Okay, so you really need to be putting to have some, even if you just put something in about the colour of the sky. Come on, what's the colour of the sky? Okay, so we've got milky blue. Milky blue? Better blue than that, I'm sure. We've got the clouds are blankets. So that's a metaphor there, hiding something, keeping something covered up. And what about these trees here? Could be, if you think about, if we go back to Steinbeck's one, so if we just start off with saying like two armies stand guarding the river, but then if we change that and we think about Steinbeck's, how it was two totally different like sides to it. So we could have one army could be, or maybe not even armies, but we could have two juxtaposing ideas for the trees. So that's great. We've got some more coming in now. So the sky was as blue as the slippery, shiny lake. Let's put that in there. Okay, do keep your comments coming in because it is an interactive session. It is for all of us. So I do want your ideas, obviously. And what can we have here for the armies? Instead of armies, we could have, what about verdant green, verdant evergreens, verdant evergreens. Stand guarding the river on one side while stark, barren branches stood desolate and devoid of life. So we've got a little bit of that juxtaposition in our own writing. Okay, let's have the frost crystallized onto the buildings, making them as white as the pure snow which had settled upon the huge towering gate. Beautiful, thank you. Let's just get that across. Oh, we're done. Let me just go. As you can see, I am great with technology. Let's get that down to 10 maybe. So the crystallized onto the buildings. Oh, I like that. making them as white as the pure snow which had settled upon the huge towering gate. Okay, so when we're thinking about similes, is as white as the pure snow which had settled? I mean, I know you're creating that picture, that's lovely, but what about as white as alabaster or something? So we've got another one here, which is for the sky, which is great. The frozen mist chills the souls of the village's inhabitants. Oh, love that. I'll make these a bit smaller. So thank you very much for your comments. It makes my life a lot easier if you're commenting as well, and it lets me know that you haven't just got this on. You know, I know that there's enough of you here for us to have some good ideas. Have we got any more? Let's have a look. So I'm just going to go back. I'm trying to go back and to go up, I'm going down. So I'm just going to publish these on the on our chat as well. Lovely. If you don't want me to publish anything, do just put a little note, please don't publish. And I won't publish. Okay, so what we need to do is to start thinking about how, so we've got quite got some ideas here. So we've got the milky blue sky, and obviously we'll develop that. We've got the clouds, a blanket, so we've got our metaphor here. We've got the sky was as blue as the slippery, shiny lake, and the frozen mist chills the souls of the village's inhabitants. Now, what are we noticing here? There seems to be a bit of a pattern, and just so the village's inhabitants. So there's a pattern here. Look, we've got blue. So whenever we're using a word like blue, we're not going to, you know, it's going to be azure blue. It's going to be sapphire blue. And here, when something's white and pure, it's going to be as white and as smooth as alabaster. It's, you know, we've got to be sort of trying to develop these things. So verdant evergreens, so really beautiful greens. But, you know, I've got some, oh, here we've got another one. So white was the primary colour of the village. The buildings were white, the grass was white, the trees were white. Everywhere you looked, it was white, like a never-ending winter. So here, look at that structure, the way you're trying to craft your writing, and you are using repetition. I'm just going to get that in. So this is white, primary colour of the village. So we'll just go for the buildings and windows for that one. So here you've got that theme, is conscious crafting. You're crafting your language to engage your reader. So white, you know, lots of repetition there. So that's great. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you. So now, obviously, I want you to apply these ideas and what we've looked at for the duration of this session, and planning and your own little success criteria. And I don't mean little, sorry, that's a diminutive. I mean, you know, your amazing success criteria. So when you go in, you know exactly what you're going to do. So let's think about how we're going to do this. So here, I've started with two fragmented sentences. So frozen, twinkling stars. Sorry, that's very that is so me, something sparkly and twinkly. So frozen. The fine, delicate, precious layer of shimmering snow lay comfortably on the frozen ice that had captured the river and languished proudly, layer upon layer, boldly, gleaming with pride at its new-found resting place. Frozen. So I want you to, you know, to have some time. So you're going to have about 10 minutes to create your own pieces of writing. So we'll look at that. So I want you thinking about how you're going to craft your own. So write down now. So to get your own subheading, my success criteria. I'm going to put the success criteria one back on the back on here, and that you've also got some on the published chat as well. So what is it that you're going to be using? Like, write down your own. How are you going to approach this? Are you looking at option 1, option 2, option 3? Choose your option and write down, let's say, 5 checklists, like 5 things that you're going to say, these are non-negotiables. I'm using these in my writing. So I'm definitely going to, let's say you're going to use a metaphor. You're going to use personification. Well, I don't want to do, I want you to choose your own. I'll choose 5 that then if you struggle, you just use these. You're going to use a fragmented sentence at the beginning of your work, and maybe that'll be repeated. You're going to use personification. And you are going to use a good complex sentence. So we've got 4, we need 1 more. I want you trying to think, so this is your challenge, of juxtaposing something so that you've got the juxtaposition between something inside the house or outside of the house, something on one side of the water to the other. When I say house, obviously I mean the castles. Okay, so I'm just going to give you now, so this is 10 minutes for you to use this criteria. I will put that, so hopefully you've got your option 1, option 2, option 3. You've got your device checklist of what you're going to have in there. And we've got our work here, some of our ideas. So obviously I'm going to be waiting on the chat box. I want you to be able to, I would like you to write in as much as you can. So if you're typing, then just type and put it into the chat box. But now you're going to get 10 minutes to just get some writing done, please. This American spelling. So if you do have any more examples, I'd love for you to put them in the chat box if you have typed yours. We've got an excellent one here. So the whole scene was a winter wonderland with a blur of pure white and baby blue. The river was shimmering with the reflection of the towering castle. You've got to remember, and I know that this is just, you've typed this quickly, so you haven't worried about your capitals, but it's those small attention to details that are really important. The river was shimmering with the reflection of the towering castle upon the grey, clear-cut sculpt of sturdy granite which it was built on. The little buildings surrounding the enormous castle were its subject, smaller, yet the intricate detail was astounding. The frozen lake was like a skating rink, smooth and shiny. Blades could cut the ice. So what I just think was great here is we've got that juxtaposition of this towering castle and the little buildings that surrounded the enormous castle. And that is one of the things that I said that I did put on our checklist, was that if you could find a juxtaposition. So you found that, that's amazing, well done. And you've had a go at your sentences. What I would maybe suggest is that obviously it's a skill that you learn in primary school, is your sentence structures, how to write more complex sentences. And in lessons, do ask your teachers if you do feel that you want to go over sentence structures, because you could see the examiner loves a good complex sentence. So, you know, I would suggest that you do speak to your teachers about this and get some lessons in class. Now, we've only got a minute until the end, so I will ask you to continue with your writing. Please feel free to bring it in to show me, to show your English teacher. And I don't know if any of you still need to get your 30 hours up of revision, but if you do, if you bring me the work, I'll sign you a card. Now, I'll sign that you attended, or in fact, I'll be able to see if you've attended. So yeah, it is at this moment I will bid you a good evening. I can hear some match cries from the living room, so I take it the Manchester United and West Ham match has started already. Okay, so have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow, and don't forget to get in touch. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to go over. So the next time I see you, we'll be looking at paper 2, section B. Okay, good night.